Okay, this is the second part of our video about Victorian imperialism. We have already said that we're going to focus on two writers, basically, Joseph Conrad and Rudyard Kipling. They did not share the same view about imperialism, but it was quite the opposite, because on the one hand, Joseph Conrad made an indictment of imperialism. Rudyard Kipling made an apology, justified imperialism. He gave reasons why we should appreciate what Western people did when they, we should say, invaded unknown lands in Africa, in India, even in America, in Oceania. Kipling was born in India, so he was born in a colony, in a British colony, but his parents are an example of, we may say, a positive way of interpreting imperialism, because his father and his mother ran a school in India, an art school, a school of arts, we can also say. And they wanted to foster Indian culture, Indian sculpture, Indian paintings. And side by side, they wanted to teach the natives what the main points of European art were. So side by side, European culture and native culture. This is what Kipling thought when he wrote, for example, this seven stanza poem, which is White Man's Burden. He wrote it and published it to celebrate the American invasion of the Philippines. It was celebrated as something huge for these people, because the American people would bring civilization to this land. And in fact, what do we have to remember about this poem? Obviously, not all the seven stanzas. In stanza one, we find a warning. Kipling is talking to Western people, and he says, "Take up the white man's burden." So, what is the white man's burden? It's imperialism. It's bringing civilization to these places. It's a burden. It's not an honor. So, from the very first line of the novel, of the poem, we understand his view about imperialism. It's a mission, it's a task. The Western people go to the unknown lands of Africa, of India, not as kings, but he says, as serfs and servants. We, as Western people, go there to serve the needs of the savage people who are described, still in stanza one, as half devils and half children, meaning that they could be as naive, as unlearned, as illiterate as kids, but they could also be as cruel, as dangerous as devils. So it was a danger for our soldiers to move to these places. He says, you English families, English fathers, you have to send your sons to exile. So it's an exile for English young men. But it was fashionable at that time to follow what Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli used to say: the East is a career. If you want to build yourself a career, if you want to become a statesman, first you need to get the expertise, the skills, in order to come back home and become a great man. where do you where can you build yourself such expertise, such skills? Far away from home, so in the colonies. um, but let's focus on the attitude of the colonized people, of these people. Kipling makes a very precious comparison. He thinks back of the episode in the Bible when Moses finally took the Jews out of Egypt. He freed them from Egyptians, but after they are free and they are wandering in the desert, but we had to say they didn't have anywhere to go, they almost asked Moses, take us back there, take us back to Egypt. It's a way of saying that as the Jews preferred slavery in Egypt rather than being free but having no place to go, in the same way, Kipling says, these savage people are dangerous. They are not grateful to Western people because they want to be left in their state of ignorance. This is not what I'm saying. This is what Kipling says. These people prefer living in this state of ignorance, not being aware of how far culture has gone, not being aware of agriculture, industry. They prefer to be left alone in their ignorance, rather than be taken to the state of civilization. In the end, in the final stanza, Kipling addresses these young men who have been sent to colonies, and he says, you must not show the moments when you feel weak. You must not be afraid of anything. Otherwise, what can these people think about us? What can these savage people think about our values, our Western values? You need to stay strong to be an example of Western ideals and principles, and I should say, and strength. If you show your weakness, these savage people will take advantage on you, and they will despise our civilization. So it's a matter of showing off how strong we are as Western people. And second bad consequence, do not ever think of coming back home, because what would happen if you come back home, if you go back to England, for example, and you say, I'm not good enough, I'm not fit for such a job? You will get all bad responses from your families, from your friends. So it's better for you to go there, stay there, and once you have, in a way, performed your task, once you're ready to come back home and take the place you deserve in our society, it's then the moment when you can leave the colonies and come back home. So it's an opposite view. I mean, Kipling's view about imperialism is quite opposite if you compare it to Conrad's view. Conrad thinks that imperialism is an act of oppression. There's a famous quotation we may take from Heart of Darkness. Imperialism just means stealing lands from people who have a different complexion and flatter noses. So basically, it's just a matter of race. There's a superior race which has the right to, in a way, to conquer the land, conquer with violence, using violence, the land of an inferior race, because the shape of a nose, the color of your skin, in English it is called complexion. So it can't depend on the color of your skin if you're a superior or inferior human being, if your civilization is better or worse than mine, and if I have the right to come to your place, steal your land, and impose on you my culture, my religion, my ideals, my politics, and so on. This is what Conrad said. Kipling said that the two cultures can coexist, that we as Western people go to the colonies to make their life better, to bring them a better way of living, a better civilization, a higher, a superior civilization, but that does not imply any form of exploitation, of violence. I can just say, to conclude with imperialism, that Nikolai Lenin used to say that imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism, because imperialism is the solution. Do you remember when Karl Marx said that capitalism will destroy itself because there will be not enough room to, in a way, sell what we produce in our factories? There will not be enough people outside, so we will suffer from a crisis of overproduction, and this overproducing, this constant overproducing at the expense of other people, will finally destroy capitalism. Lenin said, according to Marx's lesson, that Western people invade other lands to first take the raw materials from these lands for nothing, and second, if there's a crisis from overproduction, they can sell the remainder of their production to these people. So it's a double advantage for Western people and a double disadvantage for the oppressed people, for the colonies.